Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening: the Sensex and the Nifty end flat, but mid-caps and small caps take a beating in trade. 80% of mid-cap stocks end in the red. The small cap index is down over 9% since hitting record highs last month.
India should be on the front foot. This is India's moment.
Citi Group's Global CEO Jane Fraser is upbeat about India's growth prospects, says India is the obvious choice for companies diversifying their supply chain, believes no country can match India's scale and talent base. That's an exclusive. Qualcomm is working on a chip to enable an affordable 5G smartphone at less than $99. Global CEO Cristiano Amon also promises to support semiconductor makers who want to set up shop in India. That's another exclusive. Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC likely to launch an offer for sale soon. Sources say promoter entities may sell 5% stake to start with. The company has to cut its promoter stake to 75% by September 2024. The Union government launches a new web portal for people applying for citizenship under the Citizenship Amendment Act. The Indian Union Muslim League moves the Supreme Court seeking to restrain the government from implementing the CAA. Chief Ministers of Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal say they will not implement CAA in their states. A major reshuffle in Haryana. Manohar Lal Khattar resigns as Chief Minister. State BJP President and Lok Sabha MP Nayab Saini set to take over. BJP's alliance with Dushyant Chautala's Jan Nayak Janata Party collapses, but BJP is likely to stay in power with the support of independents. India hits back after China protests Prime Minister Modi's visit to Arunachal Pradesh. External Affairs Ministry rejects China's claim over the territory, asserts Arunachal Pradesh was, is and will always be an integral part of India. The water crisis in Bengaluru is now threatening the upcoming Indian Premier League, but the Karnataka Cricket Association is confident of holding at least the first three matches. A special report on the water shortage in India's IT capital coming up. Well, as always, let's start with the market action for the day. We saw the Sensex and the Nifty ending flat after a volatile session. All the action was in the mid-cap and small-cap space. The mid-cap index down nearly 700 points. 80% of the mid-cap stocks ended with losses today. Small caps also got battered. The small-cap index has lost about 9% since hitting record highs on the 8th of February. So that's the Sensex closing flat but in positive territory. The Nifty just about holding on to the green. The Nifty mid-cap, as we pointed out, bearing some pain, 687 points lower, 300 points lower on the Nifty small cap, and it was visible across smaller sectors. The stocks, the correction that has intensified over the last few days. The Nifty micro cap index was down over 2%, and the BSE SME IPO index was down about 4%. Remember, we told you about that warning that came in from the SEBI chief. That's the BSE SME IPO index down almost 5% today. Now, mutual funds will need to conduct a stress test on mid-cap and small-cap funds to reassess risk parameters. How will this exercise unfold and how should investors react to the same? Surbi is standing by with a deep dive. Surbi, explain to us what happens, how will this work?
Well, the fact that we will get these stress test results on Friday, that seems to be adding to the sense of nerves on the market out there. So let's just talk about what's going to happen and why it's happening. Well, the why is pretty simple because, it is small cap funds and mid cap funds that have been drawing in the lion's share of money compared to large cap funds. So what is really going to happen? The stress tests are to evaluate what happens to liquidity, what happens to risk parameters if there are sudden large redemptions that these funds start facing. Now, the results have to be made public. As I said, March 15 is the date that they will be out. The SEBI is also concerned about the quote-unquote froth in certain pockets of the market, particularly in mid-caps and small caps. So it's been having this dialogue with the mutual fund body, and therefore we are seeing what we are seeing. So let's talk about the test. So what will be tested and how will this play out? First of all, the definition of a stress situation. When does the market experience stress? So what mutual funds have said that, whenever the volumes are 3 times the normal, that will constitute a stress situation, and also where market participation is only 10% because of fear or other factors, is only 10% participation. So what happens if investors start asking for their money back? How do you redeem and how do you pay back investors? That's the crux of this exercise. So what will the tests reveal? The tests are supposed to reveal how many days it will take every single mid-cap or small-cap mutual fund scheme to redeem A, 25% of the portfolio, and then B, 50% of the portfolio in these stress situations. Now, bear in mind that the most illiquid part of the portfolio, which comprises almost 20% of the weight, that will not be taken into account when we conduct these, when mutual funds conduct these stress tests. So that's one thing to keep an eye out on. But as I said, this is happening for the first time, and investors are also wondering how to read the results and whether this will lead to some kind of rebalancing or additional pressures. That's why there is some amount of sort of nervousness out there. And let me add to it what the SEBI chief told us about SME IPOs. She answered a CNBC-TV18 query very specifically because, on a separate note, I mean, there's a lot of talk about possible price manipulation, and that is something she actually acknowledged, and she said the regulator will be acting on it very, very soon. Take a look.
Are there some entities which are perhaps misusing that facilitative framework? We have received feedback that that is the case. The reality is that these are relatively small entities. The market cap is small, the free float is small. It is relatively easy to manipulate both at the IPO level and at the trading level. In terms of actual price manipulation, both at the IPO level and at the trading level, we are working, to evidence that.
Well, that is the SEBI chief there on the froth that she believes does exist as far as some pockets of the market is concerned. And she did talk about the SME space where the regulator has got feedback of possible manipulation. The big newsmaker this evening, Citigroup's Global CEO Jane Fraser believes this is India's moment and the country should be on the front foot. Fraser is currently in India and believes the opportunity is there for the taking. Calling India the obvious choice for companies looking to diversify their supply chains, Fraser said no country can match India's scale and talent base. Take a look.
This year, I expect to see the growth there slow down, but I would not mistake the fact that the American entrepreneur is on the front foot, a bit akin to India, looking at investing and looking at the path forward. When you look at Europe, you see a different story. You've got more stagnating economies there, and you've got some real competitiveness challenges. Out in China, really a challenge of a demand challenge at the moment. Japan, good story there. While the growth has slowed, really you've got a new Japan emerging again, a much more vibrant Japan. India should be on the front foot. This is India's moment. It's not just the demographic dividend. It's not just the digital dividend. It's green opportunity. It's an incredible talent base that is here, and an opportunity that I think the world is playing in to India's favor right now, and it's yours for the taking. The China Plus is turned into a nearshoring, a friendshoring, and a diversification. In certain sectors, it is both China and the US are decoupling, but in most instances, what we see is healthier than that because decoupling is never great, and it's a diversification. India is the obvious choice. It is very difficult to replace the scale, the cost, and the quality of India and China and Mexico, Japan. They're the only countries really in the world that can do this, and India is probably the best place of all to become that, the addition to China in new supply chain around the world.
Well, that's Citi's global CEO, Jane Fraser. From one global CEO to another, Qualcomm's global CEO, Cristiano Amor, says the company is working on a chip to enable an affordable 5G smartphone at less than $99. He believes this phone could be rolled out by the second half of this year. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18's Rima Tendulkar, Qualcomm CEO also promised to support semiconductor makers who want to set up shop in India. Take a look.
We started investing in India before it was popular. And I think we're very proud, of how significant India is for Qualcomm. We have been building a presence in India now for more than a decade now. We have very important sites across Bengaluru, Hyderabad. What is unique at Qualcomm has done a lot of advanced R&D in India. A lot of our chips, if not all of them, are designed in India. We want to see a geographically diversified and resilient supply chain. So if India builds a semiconductor manufacturing capability or a hub, or even for assembly, Qualcomm's going to be there as a customer. And I think that's one of the biggest contributions we can provide.
Well, that's Qualcomm's global CEO. Shares of Aditya Birla Capital surging in trade after the company's board approved the merger with its wholly owned arm, Aditya Birla Finance. The move is aimed at complying with RBI's scale-based regulations ahead of the September 2025 deadline. Now, post the amalgamation, Aditya Birla Capital will get converted from a holding company to an operating non-banking finance company. Staying with the Aditya Birla Group, promoters of Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC are likely to launch an offer for sale to sell 5% stake. Aditya Birla Capital and Sun Life AMC are required to pair their stake to comply with the public float norms. Sources say Aditya Birla Capital could reduce its stake to 45%, while Sun Life AMC could reduce its stake to 30%. The company is currently holding roadshows with investors to gauge appetite for the stake sale. The Company Law Appellate Tribunal has upheld the transfer of Jet Airways ownership to the Jalan Kalrok Consortium. Remember, the Company Law Tribunal had permitted the transfer of ownership to JKC in January of 2023, but several lenders challenged the transfer. Today, the NCLAT, while dismissing the lenders' plea, directed them to effect the transfer in 90 days and has asked JKC to obtain an air operator certificate within this window, so relief coming in for the Jalan Kalrok Consortium. The crisis at SpiceJet deepens. Two senior executives, Chief Operating Officer Arun Kashyap and Chief Commercial Officer Shilpa Bhatia, have resigned. Both Kashyap and Bhatia have quit the carrier earlier, rejoined later. A SpiceJet spokesperson told CNBC-TV18 several members of the commercial team have quit as part of SpiceJet's strategic restructuring. The cash-strapped airline also added that with the recent fund transfer, it has speeded up the process of resolution of all past disputes. The centre has notified the Citizenship Amendment Act 4 years after it was passed in Parliament. The Act essentially expedites the citizenship process for non-Muslim migrants from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan who arrived in India before the 31st of December 2014. There are protests in some pockets of the country. Chief Ministers of Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal have said they will not implement the law in their states. Parikshit is standing by with the details. Parikshit, the road ahead now as far as the actual implementation of the CAA is concerned, what are you picking up?
Well, the BJP considers this to be a big shot in the arm just ahead of elections. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, saying this is the attempt by the government to give a dignified life to refugees in the country. We have already seen very strong statements from Chief Ministers of Kerala, of Tamil Nadu, of West Bengal. All these three states are unlikely to implement the Citizenship Amendment Act law. In fact, Mamata Banerjee has gone on to the extent of saying that if this law is against the people, then she'll fight against it. Pinarayi Vijayan has called it divisive. We've got mixed reactions coming in from different Muslim groups. For example, AIMIM leader Asaduddin Owaisi has said that this law is meant to target Muslims. The All India Muslim Jamaat has welcomed the law. Sikh groups have welcomed the law as well. IUML, the Indian Union Muslim League, has filed a plea in the Supreme Court seeking a stay on CAA law. In fact, there have been a number of petitioners who've gone to court today. Arvind Kejriwal, Samajwadi Party leader Akhilesh Yadav, Congress's Jairam Ramesh, all these are leaders who've spoken out against the law, saying that this is only meant to distract from the controversy around electoral bonds and also issues related to livelihoods, employment, inflation in the country. So there are likely to be protests against the CAA law all across the country. We are seeing opposition parties call for a protest in Assam. Student groups are protesting at the Madras University. There have been reports of protests from Jamia Millia Islamia as well, from Thiruvananthapuram, the Kerala capital, and all across the country. The police is on a state of high alert, on a high state of vigil. Deployments have been stepped up to check any untoward incidents or protests that may happen.
All right, Parikshit, appreciate you joining us. We will head to a break, but up next, a major reshuffle in Haryana. Manohar Lal Khattar resigns as Chief Minister. State BJP President and Lok Sabha MP Nayab Saini set to take over. That and more when we return. Nayab Saini is the new Chief Minister of Haryana. His predecessor Manohar Lal Khattar and his cabinet resigned earlier in the day. The BJP has pulled the plug on its alliance with Dushyant Chautala's JJP. It's likely to stay in power with the support of independents. Arun Dhanta has more on the major reshuffle in Haryana.
Nayab Saini will be the new Chief Minister of Haryana. He is currently the state chief of Bharatiya Janata Party and also a member of parliament from Kurukshetra. His name was unanimously chosen in the legislative party meeting. He was chosen as the leader of the party. Now, he is an OBC leader and somebody who's very close to Manohar Lal Khattar, the outgoing chief minister. With this decision, BJP has made it very clear that they will play the same politics of non-Jat vote bank in Haryana, and therefore they have given the responsibility to an OBC face. With this, we are also given to understand that Manohar Lal Khattar in all likelihood is going to contest the Lok Sabha elections. And in this process, we have seen during the day that JJP, who was the alliance partner of Bharatiya Janata Party in Haryana, has split, and therefore BJP will be forming the government once again there with the support of the independents.
Well, that is the latest from Haryana. Meanwhile, the deadline for the State Bank of India to submit data on the donors of electoral bonds to political parties ends today. Just yesterday, the Supreme Court rejected the bank's petition seeking more time to furnish the data. Ashmit is standing by now with more. Ashmit, the clock is ticking. End of business day is what the Supreme Court had observed. So far, no signs of any data being published.
Well, indeed, the EC website does not indicate that any fresh data has emerged, especially with respect to electoral bonds. SBI is, of course, serving with that deadline, is working with that deadline. End of the business day today. That's what the Supreme Court had said. That's the deadline that they'll want to comply with, given as how the Supreme Court was not shy of issuing a warning that in case this deadline is not complied with, in case this data, electoral bond data, is not furnished to the Election Commission, the Supreme Court may take potential action against the SBI officials under the contempt of court jurisdiction. So that's one aspect to watch out for. Another key aspect, and this time the focus will be on the Election Commission, will also be on the issue of a very pointed direction that the Apex Court had given back in 2019 and then subsequently in November of 2023, which is the Election Commission had been charged with collecting donor-wise data from political parties. That information was submitted by the Election Commission as of September 2023. This is available with the Election Commission, this information. And yesterday, the Supreme Court had directed the Election Commission to publish this information as of September 30th, 2023 on the website. That has still not happened. It's been more than 24 hours since the Apex Court passed its order. The Supreme Court was very clear. This data, which was supplied in a sealed cover, needs to be published forthwith. So the focus is clearly not just on the SBI, but also on the Election Commission on furnishing this data and then subsequently publishing it on the EC website.
All right, the wait continues. Ashwat, many thanks for joining us. India's tech hub Bengaluru faces one of its worst water crises in recent years. Insufficient rainfall, drying borewells and depleting water levels in the Kaveri River have prompted the Karnataka government to intervene. Ritu Singh reports that penalties for wasting drinking water and plans to fill many drying lakes with 1,300 million litres of treated water every day are just the beginning.
The people of Bengaluru, the tech hub of India, are grappling with what is one of the most severe water crises that the city has seen in recent history. In many areas across the city of Bengaluru, like the one you're seeing behind me, citizens have to spend a long time waiting in queues at RO water filters to even be able to meet their basic water requirements, with their homes, their apartments unable to meet the water demand.
There is no water and nobody even has bothered to just look at the difficulties that the people are facing.
We'll have to come twice a day because Kaveri water is not so sufficient for all of us.
The crisis has hit many parts of the city, whether smaller communities or gated apartment complexes, restaurants, hotels or shops. Even the Deputy Chief Minister's home has run out.
We know that we are concerned about it because all the borewells have been tried, including my house borewell also has been tried.
The explosive growth that the city of Bengaluru has seen has resulted in massive concretization of natural landscapes that used to be able to absorb rainwater. In fact, as per a study by the Indian Institute of Science, in the last 4 decades, the city of Bengaluru has lost nearly 80% of its water bodies, like the one that you're seeing behind me, drying up now. And during the same period, the land that is covered by concrete has gone up 11-fold. Water levels in the Kaveri River have dropped significantly over the years, made worse by last year's poor rainfall. Areas without access to Kaveri water depend on borewells or tanker water. However, many borewells in the city are also running dry following groundwater depletion.
If we calculate the total quantity required for Bengaluru is 2100 MLD. That is 2100 million litre per day is required for Bengaluru water sustainability. Right now from Kaveri water, we are getting 1450 MLD water.
The ongoing water shortage has also resulted in the cost of private water tankers skyrocketing from around 700 to 800 rupees per tanker earlier to between 1500 to 1800 rupees or more per tanker now. The government says replenishing groundwater and equitable distribution of water is a priority, starting with a plan to share from wells with more water.
Among 14,781 borewells in Bangalore city, 6,997 borewells have been tried. Only 7,784 are being working. We are taking over all the borewells of Bangalore city. We are identifying the sources. We will identify them. Whichever we have excess of water, we will be in a note of those. We will try to use them for the drinking purpose.
The government is also looking at fixing rates for water tankers. Meanwhile, the Bengaluru Water Supply and Sewerage Board has introduced a penalty of 5,000 rupees for anyone found wasting drinking water, and the civic authorities plan to fill drying lakes with 1,300 million litres of treated water every day in areas where about 50% of the borewells have dried up. The Karnataka government has also allocated 556 crore rupees to address this crisis. In addition, the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike has set aside 148 crore rupees towards such exercises, and the Bengaluru Water Supply and Sewerage Board has earmarked 128 crore rupees from its end. With summer expected to be severe this year, the state is banking on the anticipated completion of the Phase 5 of Kaveri project, designed to provide 110 litres of drinking water daily to 12 lakh people, which is expected by May this year. In Bengaluru, Ritu Singh.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right after this. Stay tuned. More up next.